Is the way the media is treating Jude Bellingham racism or is it fair? It's the English media. Of course, it's racism. So this is going to be a very deep conversation. So I hope you guys are going to buckle in because it's going to be some real talk. Some real talk. Um, there are so many ways to go through with this, and there are just so many dimensions. So I'm going to try to just condense this into specific talking points that hopefully you'll be able to understand and get. I think the jump off from this, and I think this is the jump off that makes most sense, is where is that? Yeah, because this is the jump off. It's the whole thing of Tuchel and Bellingham. Bellingham not been happy that he was substituted, and just Bellingham's overall attitude. They think he's a prima donna. They think he's being too arrogant. They think he has got a character issue. And what was found out was this psychotic, possible reform BNP reporter fabricated a story. And I'll get to that same reporter because what you now have is a reporter who just has an agenda, who just simply has an agenda against Jude Bellingham. And he's been exposed for having that agenda against said player. But this was the jump off, and it's led into what has now become a very interesting conversation that I think has always been had in sorts of stages, but is now being had in a much more open, gloves off, no barriers to entry, open warfare discussion. Because again, I think what needs to be very clear and what I want to really put forth is there is the English people and then there is the media. England is not a racist country. England has racist areas. There are racist people within England, but the country as a whole is not a racist country. Now, I don't want to go anywhere near the countryside, but whether it's London, Bristol, Manchester, Brighton, like the big kind of cities where there's a mix of people, it's cool. There are racist people in England, 100%. We know of the Reform Party. We know of the EDL. We know of Tommy Robinson. We know of Nigel Farage. They exist. But they will exist in almost any country that you meet. But the country as a whole is not racist. But the media, particular areas of the media, they are racist. And they do play to a certain crowd. So everything really popped off with Ian Wright on the overlap and his comments on the overlap with regards to how black players are reported and targeted by certain aspects of the media. And I think, you see, the Ian Wright story is interesting in and of itself. Let me just come right and say, because guys, you subscribe here because I keep things a stack. So I'm going to keep things a stack here. If Ian Wright told me that he's English, I wouldn't believe him. I wouldn't believe him. And Ian Wright even alluded to that when he was talking to the overlap. Because Ian Wright said that, I remember when I was growing up and people would say that when I would say that I'm a proud Englishman and guys would say, you're not really English. And I said, no, yeah, I am. That's not true. Now, for some English people, Wrighty is as English as anybody. But for a lot of English people, they will not look at Ian Wright as a true Englishman because he's black. So whenever I saw Ian Wright shout the loudest, be the most passionate, and be the most patriotic, I just laugh. I just laugh because I know what those white guys are saying behind Ian Wright's back. I don't know what a lot of people in the EDL, I know what a lot of people who are perhaps going to Eton, Oxford, Cambridge, and those people in the upper class, how they view Ian Wright of like, bro, come on, no, you are not English. You're black. You're black. You're not truly English. You're not truly that real English. Because that's why I always feel for the black person who grows up in England, wanting to be English and wanting to play for England, because you'll never be fully ingratiated into Englishness. And this comes part and parcel with the issue happening with the media. So I think what you saw from Ian Wright is just a frustration. Because Ian Wright, he's always known but he's tried to refuse. He's always known that no matter how hard I try, no matter how passionate I am, no matter how much I support and I go to bat for England, I will never be viewed as English as Gary Lineker, as English as a Lee Dixon, as English as a Wayne Rooney, as English as a Neville. I can be twice as passionate as them. I can care twice as much and shout 3 times as louder as they are. But that will never make me be viewed as English as them because I'm black and they're white. It's as simple as that. Now, that's not the feeling amongst everybody in England, but for a lot of people in England, in certain aspects, they will view Ian Wright as, cheer us, work for us, play for us, be the loud cheerleader. But when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, we know that you're not truly English. And we know that we don't view you the same way as we view a Rooney, a Neville, a David Beckham, or any other white player. It's as simple as that. But the very interesting that Ian Wright alluded to the whole Bellingham, because he was talking about how Bellingham is viewed and how the way that he's being reported is because people in the media don't like the uppity black man. They don't like the black man who is confident. There is a thin line between self-confidence and arrogance. If Bellingham was white and he did the exact thing he was doing, acting the same way, people would view it as self-confidence. A guy confident in his abilities and wanting to demand the very highest from England because they know a World Cup is at stake. But because he is a few shades darker, that self-confidence that would be viewed as self-confidence if he was white is now viewed as arrogance because he's not white. Simple as that. Doesn't matter whether his father is white. He is not white. He's not 100% white. Shout out to the one-drop rule. So, because 100%, if Bellingham was white, they'd view what he's doing as being self-confident. Because we all know that you can say what you want about Bellingham and how he acts. There's a guy called Jack Grealish who was promoting alcoholism. And what did the guy say? Oh man, that's just Jack being Jack, man. Oh, that's just Jackie boy. Oh, come on, that's just Jackie boy. So one guy is not happy that he's been substituted because he wants to demand more and he wants to play more, which is typical stuff you see in football. So that is worse than a guy who is promoting alcoholism. So you'd rather kids follow an alcoholic than follow a guy who is angry by being subbed off because he wants to play more and prove more and wants to play the highest level because he's coming from Real Madrid. Surely the alcoholic is worse. Surely. But that's just me. That's just me. But what Wright said was, he talked about, he compared Kante to Pogba. Because he was like, the media, the white media, wants the black man to be more like Kante rather than Pogba. And it's interesting though. You see, the way that people view Kante, I think, is very cringe and creepy. The way people fawn over Kante. Like, so this is to my black guys out there. Shout out to my white people out there. What a baby. But this is to my black guys out there. Any white guy who wants you to be like Kante, those are alarm bells. Trust me. Any white guy who sort of applauds you or tries to push you or encourage you to behave like N'Golo Kante, raise alarm bells. Because that is a guy who wants to domesticate you. And that is a guy that wants you to be low. Kante is just a quiet guy. That's just his character. But I'm sorry. Most people I know do not act like Kante. Kante is just a very unique breed. Most people I know, most people of African origin I know, or French black people that I know, aren't like Kante. Most black people I know, or most French black people I know, are like Pogba. They're expressive. They have a strong personality. They have style. They have pizzazz. They like to express themselves. So I know more people, black people, French black people, who act like Pogba than act like Kante. So it's always very interesting how Pogba was maligned, he was insulted, he was called arrogant, when you know just how talented this guy is. Because we all know that if Paul Pogba was white, we all know how they would view them. Bro, remember Eric Cantona? Whatever Pogba did, at no point did Pogba ever launch a flying kick at a fan. Pogba has never done anything egregious, nothing at all. He's never been violent. He's never been physically threatening whatsoever. But we all know that if Pogba was white, they talk about his character, his style, and when people want to copy him. But because he's a black guy who is confident, nah. So always be wary of people who want you to be more like a Kante rather than to be like a Pogba. And people sort of make you feel guilty for being expressive, for being loud, for being stylish, or being fashionable. Because there's nothing wrong in being all of those things, because your character is your character. As long as you're not harming anyone, as long as you're doing nobody any harm, be yourself. Kante is Kante. That's who he is. Pogba is Pogba. Black people should not be Kante. And to be accepted into any walk of life, you shouldn't have to be Kante. Because if Grealish can be a thuggish, yobbish, roadman, bush, uncivilized alcoholic, surely Pogba can be expressive and stylish and dab up, surely. So if you can accept a yobbish, thuggish alcoholic like Grealish, surely you can accept Pogba just being stylish and expressing himself, surely. I mean, that has to be fair. You've got to meet me halfway there. But I think, so when you go look at the whole media thing, you say, is the media racist? So where is that my media thing right there? Aha, where we go. So, guys, it depends what media that you're looking at here. So, guys, see, so there are different kinds of newspapers in England. So you have the most sophisticated newspapers, which is, of course, The Guardian, the Daily Telegraph. Those are the much more sophisticated ones. Then you've got the trash from the bin that you use to wipe your ass with. So these are the ass wipers. This is what you use to wipe your ass with, which is the Sun and the Daily Mail. Trash. So I remember when I was in school, they'd line all the newspapers down. So they have the Telegraph, Guardian, the Sun, all on the table, and guys would just pick them up. 100% of this, all the Sun newspapers would go. And the few guys who, a bit much more intelligent, more nuanced, they'd read the Telegraph and the Guardian. But for the bulk of guys, they'd all go for the Sun, because the Sun is, okay, look, young, page 3, fine. But they speak to the lowest common denominator. And they speak to the regular Englishman. And the Sun and the Daily Mail, oh no, these guys are racist. Because we all know that Brexit was done through racial means. And it was all about elitism, still think that you're still an empire. Dreams of the empire. And we know now that Brexit was a dumb idea. But these were the guys pushing for Brexit. The Sun and the Daily Mail. So that's their brand. Their brand is patriotism. Their brand is pro-white. Their brand is pro-Britain. Their brand is anything non-white, non-fully, truly British or English is an enemy, is an op. And there are many English people, because these are the best-selling newspapers that think that way. So do the math. When you know the kind of right-wing, nationalistic, racist rhetoric that the Daily Mail and the Sun have, and they're the best-selling newspapers in the country, the simple math is a lot of English people must think that way. So it goes back to what Ian Wright is saying, is that for a lot of English people who buy the Daily Mail and the Sun, they don't view Ian Wright as a proper Englishman. They just view him as English, but when it comes down to it, you're black. Simple as that. And then we have a guy called Craig Hope, who seems to be obsessed. You can go look at his Twitter feed, and just recently, this is like, if I was Bellingham, I would file for a restraining order, because I would literally say, I'm gonna sue you or go to court, because it's creepy right now. So for Greg Hope, I don't want to know, because the first thing I ask is that, are you a heterosexual? Because this seems as if you are obsessed with me. And this obsession seems very deep. So what I'll ask is that, are you married to a woman? If you're married to a woman, are you then bisexual? Because it seems as if there might be a sexual infatuation that this break hope has with Jude Bellingham. Because the incessant and just the constant Bellingham, 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 he might be sexually infatuated with Bellingham. So if I'm Bellingham, I'm like, bro, I think that Bellingham has a girlfriend already. So yo, Craig, I'm already taken. Can you stop sexually being obsessed with me? Leave me alone, because this is creepy. Because when I look at the amount of times he's referenced Bellingham, you seem psychotic. But again, you have to understand the dynamics of England. And Craig Hope, he knows what he's doing. Because he knows that people are obsessed with bringing people down. They did it with David Beckham. Because what the media does is they prop people up to bring them down. And what I find here, and this is a very key thing to note, is the media don't actually want England to win the World Cup. Or this section of the media, they don't want England to win the World Cup. They want to maintain the power of bringing them down when they fail. That's what they want. Many people in the media, seriously, I just did the math. Guys, they hated this. This was their worst nightmare. What Craig Hope wanted, he wanted that guy with the overhead kick to be a few shades lighter. He wanted that to be Kane. He wanted that to be Kane. Because when you look at Craig Hope's recent tweets, he's about, oh no, this team needs Kane, this team needs Kane. A man who is a perennial big game flop, a guy who has never shown up in a major final, a guy who has never come clutch for England. We know what Palmer did in that final. We know what Bellingham did to literally save England. So this was their worst fear, was Jude Bellingham, the Real Madrid star who is not white, scoring the most clutch goal for England. This was their worst fear. Because what that now did is made a non-white player an extremely pivotal part of England. Because they can talk up, they can talk down. He plays for Real Madrid. He does. I'm sorry, he does. He plays for the biggest club in the world. And this ain't David Beckham. See, their dream was, why couldn't this be Kane who plays for Real Madrid? Why couldn't this be Foden who plays for Real Madrid? Why couldn't it be those people who play for Real Madrid? Why did it have to be this light-skinned dude playing for Real Madrid? Why does he have to be this good? Why does he have to play for Real Madrid? And why did he have to be influential and instrumental in Real Madrid winning a Champions League and the league in his very first season? Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. It pisses them off. It pisses them off. It's not supposed to be this way. This is supposed to be Foden. Foden is supposed to be the face of this team because he fits the narrative. He fits the idea. That is what these media guys want. Because make no mistake here, this is the most clutch goal in England history. People say, oh no, what about David Beckham? Now think about it. So Beckham scored like pretty much a last-minute free kick against Greece to qualify England for the World Cup. That was a free kick. If you were to ask, last minutes, and this is the last kick of the game, would you rather it be an overhead kick during the run of play or a free kick where you have time to steady yourself and measure where you want the ball to go? Most professional players would choose the free kick over you have to score an overhead kick during a run off of play. Come on. So without a doubt, Bellingham's goal against Slovakia is the most clutch goal in England football history. If he doesn't score that, Southgate is sacked, and these England players are slated, and this would be the most embarrassing victory since they lost to Iceland. And I would argue it'd be more embarrassing than Iceland based on how talented this team was, what was expected of this team, and for them to lose to a team like Slovakia, because this team was way more talented than the team who lost to Iceland. So hands down, this goal, the overhead kick goal scored by Bellingham, was the most clutch goal in English football history. That is a fact. And what that showed is Bellingham is crucial and super important for the success of the England football team. So my thing here is, because what you have to realize is that Bellingham, 100%, he's never returning to the Premier League. He will never come back to the Premier League. He will never return to England. Because I think Bellingham now knows of, this is how it's going to be. He's good. Whether he goes to maybe Germany, but he's never coming back to England, because Bellingham is like, do you guys want us to win? Because Craig Hope's argument was, because people were like, do you realize that England had the very best qualifying record in, I believe, European team history, where they won all their games and they did not concede a single goal. That is literally the best qualifying campaign of any European team, I think, in history. So why are you creating issues? See, because people are like, wait, no. Everything is fine. Everything is good. There are no issues here. You had a 100% perfect qualifying campaign. So it's as if you're just creating issues just for the sake of creating issues. So then you have to ask for the media, do you want to win? Do you want to win? Because if you want to win, Bellingham is the key. Whether you like it or not, this player is one of the most talented players of his generation. That is just a fact. Whether you like him or not like him, whether you think he's arrogant or not arrogant, this is just a cold hard fact that you cannot argue with. He is one of the most talented players of his generation. He is one of the most important players for Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. He already has a La Liga, he already has a Champions League, and is a critical player for, I repeat, the biggest club in the world in Real Madrid. I think I hear 15 UCLs. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe him and Trent are the only Champions League winners in this England team. Oh, with Foden as well. But last I checked, Foden can't get into this damn team. So in terms of bona fide starters, it's him and Trent. But in terms of critical players, so the critical success of this team, it's Bellingham, who is the only guy with a UCL trophy. So again, shouldn't this be a guy who you try to protect, who you try to promote, who you try to support? But this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. He's not white. But hear what I'm trying to tell you. Not everybody in England is racist. They're not. There are many people in England who, they don't give a damn what Bellingham looks like. I believe London is one of the major cities in Europe with the most intermarrying and intermixing. So Bellingham, being mixed race, black mother, white father, bro, you walk around the streets of North London, South London, brown baby, brown baby, brown baby, brown baby, brown baby, and the mix of black and whites. So the mixing of black and whites within England, bro, that's a standard thing, bro. Adele is pretty much married to a black guy. Shout out to Rich Paul. So there's just aspects. So there are aspects of England who they don't give a damn what Bellingham looks like. And there are many people in England who view Bellingham as being representative of the modern England, which is just intermarrying and intermixing, where black and whites are fully together and there's no issue of race. But there are aspects of England within the media, the privileged, the upper class, the posh people, Oxbridge, Eton, those 1%ers, the guys within the media, the elitists who are racist, who need the royal family to exist fully, 100%, for 100 years. Shout out to your boy Churchill. So for these people in the media, they cannot and will never accept the image of a Bellingham. And for these people in the media, listen to me when I say this, it is more important that Jude Bellingham knows his place and realizes that he is not Harry Kane than England win the World Cup. Guys, I have a dream. This is my brain dream. And I've had this dream for a long time. My dream is for either Saka or Bellingham to score the World Cup winning goal for England. Because I believe if that happens, people in the Daily Mail and the Sun, their brains will spontaneously combust. They would not be able to handle the very fact that a non-white player scored the goal that gave England their second ever World Cup and their first not on home soil. They couldn't accept that because for them, the narrative has to be Harry Kane, Harry Kane, Harry Kane. If not, Foden, Foden, Foden. The narrative has to be it's the white player who represents us, the white player who represents England. So there is that pull of people who are like, no, it's Kane, it's Foden, it's white, white, white. But there's another aspect of England. Shout out to my boy Bill and people like Bill who are like, no, England has changed. And Bellingham represents the modern England, which is he's black and he's white. So, oh no, but his father is white, and his mother's black. So he's not black, he's not white. But, oh no, he's black. But his father's white though. So he's black, but that means his father is now not white. Doesn't work. And maybe we'll get there. Maybe in 10, 20 years we'll get there. But we will have to get to a point where there is so much intermixing. The concept of racism doesn't make any sense. But then human beings being trash will find another kind of prejudice to sort of separate people. Whether, oh no, this is how light you are as a brown. So the dark browns are worse than the lighter browns. So it is what it is. But again, but we'll just go out to Ian Wright. And this is what I'll end it with, man. I feel sorry for Ian Wright. Because Ian Wright so desperately wants to be English and part of England and be a proud Englishman. And I know deep down, he knows that you'll never be fully accepted as a full Englishman because you're black. Oh, sorry, and I just left it here. So, and this is even perfect, me and Ian Wright. So when I came to England for the first time, I wanted to be English. Bro, I had every hope of being a proud dual citizen. As a guy born in London, who then went to nursery school and primary school in Nigeria, then came back to England, I want to be a proud dual citizen of like, yes, I am British Nigerian, I'm Nigerian British. I wanted to be. But racism, racial abuse, insulting my accent, insulting how I talked, insulting my heritage, insulting my skin, insulting my hair, mocking me in every conceivable way based on where I came from. I was like, nah, I can't support you guys. So when people ask me, why don't you support England? Because the people in England made it impossible for me to support them. Now, some other guys in my year, some other black guys, they were willing to assimilate and accept. Even within the abuse, they stooped to conquer and they said, hey, I will play rugby for England. I will support England in football. And for me, fair dues. Some of those guys are my friends. Some of those guys are my cousins. And I can't hate them because those guys are friends, those guys are family, but they chose a path that I can't choose. Because I was like, it didn't make any sense for me to sort of now assimilate to a culture that is insulting my culture. It did not make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. So people ask like, wait, why do you even speak like this when you've been in England for such a long time? I fought to keep my accent because like, what you are insulting me for, I need to keep it. Because this is an identity that I'm proud of. And if you can't accept my identity when I want to embrace yours, I don't want to embrace your identity. Because I can only embrace your culture and identity if you can respect mine. How can I embrace your culture when you are insulting and demeaning to my culture? Doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math up. So when people ask me, I'm Nigerian, or I'm just from planet Earth, because Nigeria might be cooked now. So I'm either from Nigeria or I'm from planet Earth. But for someone from like Ian Wright, he's English. And when he says he's English, I just shake my head. I just shake my head because I'm like, righty, bro. You're not Neville. You're not Bex. You're not Rooney. You're not Kane. You're not Jamie Carragher. Just name any white player. Even Jamie Carragher is not half the player that he is. He's not half the player he is. Neville is not half the player Ian Wright was. Ian Wright was one of the best strikers in Premier League history. If you grew up like me watching Ian Wright was an outstanding striker. But no matter what he does, and that's why it's the unfortunate thing this is why I just find it so sad for Ian Wright, because for such a long time, he'll be the loudest, he'll cheer the loudest, he'll be the most passionate. I'm like, you're putting so much passion and effort into a culture and a country that views you as just a black ... You're putting so much passion into many people, white English people, and behind your back, they're calling you a monkey. They're calling you a gorilla. And then calling you a black so-and-so. Well, those are the jokes they always crack. Because they always have to remind you that, yeah, you're English, but you're not quite English. Just to know your place, though. And remember that, yeah, you're English, but remember, you're black. You're not white, so you're not truly English. And that's why I just said when I just saw that Ian Wright rant that he did, I'm like, yeah, bro. Guys, identity is okay. And affinity to identity is okay. And I know some of you guys who may have lived in England and have sort of like that dual nationality, I always say to you guys that, bro, having an identity that you can connect with, but that respects you and understands you is very key. Again, I'm not taking anything from Ian Wright, but I just think the Ian Wright story is so sad. And which is why, my relationship with England is so complicated, because I told you, some English white people are some of my best friends. Bill, all these guys that I've known these guys for a long ass time. And so some white English people are some of my closest friends. Closest friends. So for those guys, I want England to do well because those guys are my closest friends. But there's some EDL guys, some BNP guys, some Reform guys who are some of the nastiest, stinkiest, filthiest creatures on the planet, who I would love for them to rot in hell. But those guys make up quite a large number in this country, and for these people, they'll never accept Ian Wright, Bukayo Saka, or Bellingham as truly English people, no matter how hard they try or no matter how well they do for the country.